Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, with the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Asherallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing their true heritage were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about how these measures to reduce the infection which is plaguing the world right now are not going to make a change, and we're not going to go back to normal. But before we read that, let's go ahead and get the scripture. This is Ecclesiastes 9 and 12. For man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare. So are the sons of men snared in an evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. And that's what you're looking at right now. You're looking upon the sons of men, these nations that have suddenly been caught within an evil trap, an evil net, which these people now are living in an evil time. And the majority of them, though they may be, as people say, woke and know that there's something fishy going on, really don't understand the truth behind it. Right? They think that this is probably just some government corruption, government tyranny. Some of them may know that it has to do with the New World Order being pushed and coming out. Some of them may understand that this is due to a depopulation agenda. But the majority of these people do not understand the reasons why. See, they know what is going on, but they don't know why it is going on, right? See, that's why it is important to understand the Bible, right? Because the Bible tells you why the things that are happening, right? Yes, you could know what's in the jab, you could know what it does to your DNA, you could know the true numbers of the infection, how they're covering it up, how, you know, that the researchers in China, they actually were testing for gain of function and all this type of stuff. You could know all of that. You could have all this knowledge, but without the true understanding, the Holy Spirit, which is the true understanding of the Bible, you're not going to understand why. Why is all this happening? Why are these people that are ruling the world, why are they doing this? Well, we're going to get into that in just a bit, right? But the point being is that these people here, they don't understand that they are set up in an evil net, a net that will only continue to get tighter and tighter and will continue to grasp down harder and harder upon them, right? And when you look at the way that torture works, or breaking a prisoner, right, somebody who's being interrogated, what you do is you basically remove all their liberties, you remove everything from them, right? And you treat them like shit. After a while, you give them back just a little bit, right? And then you remove it again. Then you give them back even less, and then they're happy with that. And then you take it all away again. And then same thing, you continue to do it on and on until you physically and mentally have broken down the person that's being interrogated. And now that person will see any form of lenience, right? Any form of niceties which are done by the interrogators, the people who are inflicting the damage, as a mercy, okay? And that's ultimately what's happening, man. That's why they're now opening things up, right? They're opening things up so that way they can then have an excuse to lock things down. Let's read this article, just the intro part to it. It says, list of UK venues that could mandate jab passports already expanding. You see this? So here in America, we would do well to look at how other nations are reacting and what they're doing during this pandemic, because that eventually, in a one way or another, in a certain form, will come here to Babylon the Great, which is what the Bible refers to as America. And the reason why you're seeing this happening around the world and taking such great leaps and bounds in Europe is because these other nations don't afford their citizenry the type of rights and liberties which were given to the citizens of here in America, right? Which is what is keeping the law at bay, right? Also, another big thing is that the weapons that the people have here in America is keeping the government from doing a lot of things, right? This is why, over here in the European countries, in Australia especially, you're seeing them come down with such force because the people can't do anything against them, right? All they can do is throw rocks, lob Molotov cocktails and do all that type of shit, which really is nothing when you consider the militarization of the police forces in these countries. Right? Well, I said all that to say this. As we just read in the article, these venues, which remember when they first brought out these green passports, right? They said that they would be used voluntarily, right? And that they would just help out society, right? Here a little, there a little. Well, as you're seeing, they're now expanding its usage, right? And let me, I'm sure you've heard this already, but this expansion will eventually lead to the mark of the beast, RFID implantable chip, which will go either into your hands or into your forehead, okay? And the way that's going to work is that, you've heard Boris Johnson, right, say on Freedom Day of all days, right, that having a negative test result no longer is going to be acceptable. Now, why is that? Because you see, they want to eventually get you down the hallway to the slaughter room, but eventually on the way down to the hallway, they have to continue to remove certain options, certain rights that you have, right? And the thing is eventually everybody's going to be carrying around these paper, notices showing that they've taken the double jabs. But eventually you're going to start seeing, they're going to start bringing out more and more stories about people who are forging these paper receipts, right? And lying about their jab status. Well, that's going to then usher in the next solution for Esau's plan, right? And that is to have an implantable chip which will hold not only your jab status, but your economic records, where you can have your bank account, you can have your digital dollars stored. It's going to have other things, right, that you'll be able to store. And they're going to bring it out, and it's going to be a benefit. It's going to be seen as the good alternative to what eventually is going to be proposed to us, okay? Because these devils, this is the agenda that they ultimately want. But let's read this article. It says, the list of attractions that could be forced to mandate jab passports as a condition of entry is already growing, with Minister Nadhim Zahawi listing other crowded venues that may have to ban the unjabbed. Right? And that eventually is going to go to your supermarket, the bigger supermarkets, the bigger venues. So again, man, if you're going to be in this truth, if you're going to, resist this, you gotta put away Babylon the Great, right? This is why we here at Great Millstone have been telling you, but the Bible has been telling you, man, to come up out of the ways of Babylon, right? Deliver every man his soul and flee out of the midst of Babylon, man. Stop being used to going to these bars, going to these music concerts, these amusement rides, man, traveling, right? All that stuff, man, flying. All that stuff is going to be things of the past for the people who are not going to submit to these devils' will, right? And you got to be ready for that, man. You got to be ready to sacrifice that, because ultimately, this is how the Revelations 13 and 16 about taking the mark of the beast and not being able to do anything in the society is going to come to play, right? Because they're going to slowly start turning up the pressure, just like you're seeing here, that now they're expanding the areas where you cannot go. Well, eventually it's going to continue to expand more and more, and that evil net that the world is captured in right now is only going to get tighter and tighter. On Monday, Prime Minister Boris Johnson made a mockery of Freedom Day when all C-19 restrictions were supposed to be lifted. by announcing that nightclubs would be made to check for jab status on the door. Despite widespread backlash to the idea and the potential for a defeat when it comes to a vote in Parliament, Jab Minister Nadhim Zahawi indicated today that the program could be extended further. There you go. Remember what I said? Right? When you are breaking somebody that you're interrogating or you're trying to manipulate, you take away everything from them, right? And you do things that are considered unfair, right? Then you give back a little freedom, and then you continue to do the same thing over and over again, man. And that's what's happening, man, right? During a speech to the Commons, Zahawi said sporting and business events, churches, music venues, and festivals would also be subject to the rules, which are expected to come into force at the end of September. Mark my words, everybody. September, we're going to see a big event happen, right? When I talk about that, I'm talking about a week lockdown, a big spread of the Delta variant, right? This agenda is moving like clockwork, right? And it's easy to see what these devils are doing. Continuing, we reserve the right to mandate its use in the future, he said. Zahawi also asked venues to make providing evidence of taking the jab or a negative test a condition of entry before September, despite the facts that it's not the law, right? And
This week, after a successful trial, we have rolled out the NHS COVID Pass. This allows people safely and securely to demonstrate their COVID status, whether it's proof of vaccination status, test results, or natural immunity. People will also be able to demonstrate proof of a negative test result. Although we don't encourage its use in essential settings like supermarkets, other businesses and organisations in England can adopt the pass as a means of entry where it's suitable for their venue or premises, and when they can see its potential to keep their clients or their customers safe. But for proprietors of venues and events where large numbers are likely to gather and likely to mix with people from outside their households for prolonged periods, deploying the pass is the right thing to do. The pass has an important role to play in slowing the spread of the virus, and so we reserve the right to mandate its use in the future. Next, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to update the House on vaccination as a condition of entry. At the end of September, we plan to make full vaccination a condition of entry to those high-risk settings where large crowds gather and interact. As a condition of entry to these venues, people will need to show that they are fully vaccinated, and proof of a negative test will no longer be sufficient.
Well, you see, there it goes. And eventually what's going to happen is that they're going to start saying that these certificates that you use to verify your jab status, that at some of these higher risk venues, that those no longer are going to be accepted, and only those who have taken the mark of the beast. But they're going to call it something else. They're going to call it like the jab plus, or the jab secure, or some type of high gimmick marketing, catchphrase, man, right? And they're going to say that's going to be the requirement, and that the cards that people are using now, that those aren't going to be accepted. You see, they're going to continue to ramp up little things by little, right? And these people here, for example, says protests erupt in Italy after new health passports revealed. Thousands of people flooded the streets of Turin, a city located in northern Italy, Thursday evening to protest harsh government restrictions on unjabbed citizens, dubbed the Green Pass. Right, and let's watch some of these. No Green Pass! 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 Let's see this.
A Roma, a tutti i governanti che Torino c'è! No Green Pass! No Green Pass! No Green Pass! Non vi serve!
see, ultimately, people are trying to stand up against this, but eventually what's going to happen is these devils in charge, they've all accounted for this, right? They've counted the cost, and they understand that there's going to be riots. Why do you think they spent the last 20 years militarizing the police around the world? Why do you think they spent so much money in the war to equip the war effort? And then what do they do with that equipment that was no longer needed? They passed it conveniently down to the police stations, right? And the police stations are now militarized, man. It says protests take place across Italy over anti C-19 measures, right? And here's a video.
Watch it up.
So you see there, it said the Interior Minister warned of autumn, which is fall or kind of like winter here, right? Of social unrest, because they know that they're going to only continue to put on the pressure. You see, these are the writing between the lines that you have to start reading, right? But ultimately, if you read the Bible, if you have been, listening to our lessons, you understand that this is all prophecy, that we've been saying this is going to be happening for the longest, man, right? This is why you're seeing, but these people here don't, man, because they don't realize that they have been set into a trap, right? And how did they get set into that trap? Well, they voted for they continued to vote for politicians that they thought were going to make changes, right? Not realizing that the system that they were voting and participating in had already been sold out, and that they were participating in their own demise. Right? This is why the Bible itself says not to vote. Right? It says not to place anybody who is not of your nation above yourself, man. Right? And here in Babylon the Great, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, you're not to vote in the system. You're not to participate in this Babylonian system, because one, it's not for us, right? Anything that they do for us is simply a way to placate us, or it's an illusion, right? Like, for example, Barack Obama. Barack Obama was not a so-called Negro. He was a Hamite. He was a true African, right? But they did that to placate the so-called Negro nation here, right? The tribe of Judah, to make them say, hey, look, there's a black man in the White House, right? And a lot of our people fell for that shit, man. But again, that's just an example of some of the wickedness that's going on, man. That these people were unaware of, that they are now reaping what they are sowing. But it tells you here, this is Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Right? And you see, so this ultimately is what we are starting to go into, right? We're starting to see the very beginning parts of this, man, right? And those people around the world are starting to get the first taste of it. Now, eventually this will come here to America in some form or another, right? Now, as far as how successful it's going to be, or how, undercover and, deceptive it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to, they're going to pull out all the stops before they bring out the military and declare martial law here, right? You're going to see people firing and basically coming up against the government, man, because they do not want these things, man. But see, these people here, because they have either never had rights to weaponry, or they gave their rights up, right? They are now basically just they're able to crush, crash windows and fucking destroy display dummies, man. Right? They don't know where their politicians live. They don't know how to take back real power. But again, this is that evil snare, that evil net that these people have been taken up in, right? And eventually, if it's not these little measures are going to be taken, it's going to ultimately be the continual removal of your liberties, your rights to do things that eventually will get these people to take the jab, right? There's going to be people who eventually will have breaking points, right? But the Lord warned us about this, and we've warned you about this, man. That when you come into this truth, you got to prepare to for all these things, man. You got to gird up your loins, as the Bible says, right? Be prepared to not be able to go out to a concert. Be prepared not to fly. Be prepared not to vacation. Be prepared not to go to clubs, right? If you're in Great Millstone, then you know that clubs have been off limits for a few years now, because of the apostles' wise leadership, right? They declared that we weren't to be involved in those things, man, right? But the Bible also tried to, to warn us, right? And this is what I'm going to tell you ultimately in this lesson, right? This is Ecclesiasticus 2:1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Right? And what is that temptation? That temptation is going to be able to go to a concert, to listen to your favorite band. Trust me, man, you're going to see some of your favorite artists come together, right? The ones that you've always wanted to see together. They're going to be playing for the first time in your city, and you're going to get a chance to go, man. You may even get some free tickets, but you're going to have to not go. We're going to have to turn that shit down because they're going to require you to take a jab. You're going to be tempted with being able to go on vacation, but you can't go because you can't fly because flying requires a jab. Things like this. This is going to be the things that we are all going to be tried and tested with. Some brothers and sisters, unfortunately, are going to have to go through more temptations than others. Others, because you've been conditioned already, you've conditioned your soul, you prepared yourself to go without, that when these things come upon you, they're not going to be a big deal, right? And kahala Yahweh Bashim al Shai for them, that the Lord has prepared you. So what I'd recommend, like it tells you here in verse 2, set thy heart aright and constantly endure and make not haste in time of trouble, right? So the thing is man, set thy heart aright, man. Get ready for things coming, man. Prepare yourself emotionally, man. The people who have not taken this truth, that just aren't listening, let them go. It's far too gone, to be trying to tell some fool, that this is going on. If they're not getting it by now, then they're not meant to get it, man. You start watching out for yourself and your family and those that you take care of, those who have turned to this truth. Everybody else, they're just a casualty of war, unfortunately. Right? So, tough times are coming upon us, Akim. So, prepare yourself mentally, physically, emotionally. And like it tells you here in verse 3, cleave unto him, right? Who's him? The Most High, Yahweh, right? And how are we going to do that? Through his son, the Messiah, Yahweh Shai, right? You need to worship him, right? Because he will help us get through this. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased in thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully. Right? So when you go through some tough times, you can't go into certain places you want to go to. Hey, don't get upset, man. Don't make a scene where they have to call the cops and you get tased and your ass gets thrown in jail, then you have to take that job, man. Don't do that shit. Right? Take it cheerfully, man. The Lord will make a way for you. Right? He's gonna have somebody come, provide you with what you need, right? Things like that. And be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. Because remember, Akim, this isn't going to last forever, right? We just have to go through this test. And if we make it through this test, we will inherit the kingdom, right? Now, if you can't make it, then we'll see you on the other side, right? Lord willing, I'm part of one of those that make it, right? I'm one of the hopeful elects, you know, Lord willing. So hopefully this video was edifying, Aki. Until the next time, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Makal Kodash. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and elders of the Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.